Let's queer up breaking news. Prime Minister Netanyahu tells joint Congress gays for Gaza is like chickens for KFC. Yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to a joint session of Congress. The fiery defense of the invasion of Palestine included a direct call out against the American LGBTQ plus community. He suggested that the defense of Hamas was the success of money and politics coming from Iran. He said that those U.S. supporters have become Iran's useful idiots. He then specifically called out LGBTQ plus support for Hamas by saying gays for Gaza is like chickens for KFC.
I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots. That's amazing, absolutely amazing. Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC. These protesters chant from the river to the sea, but many don't have a clue what river and what sea they're talking about. They not only get an F in geography, they get an F in history. They call Israel a colonialist state. Don't they know that the land of Israel is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed, where Isaiah and Jeremiah preached, and where David and Solomon ruled?
This reference is a historical observation to the contradiction of support that is illogical to its final conclusion. A famous example is 1939 support from some Jews of the growing presence in Germany for the Nazi Party. The phrase was Jews for Hitler. Gays for Gaza is like chickens for KFC makes reference to the unconditional rejection of LGBTQ by Muslim governments, including Hamas. Meanwhile, during the speech, protests were going on in the capital by Palestinian supporters against Netanyahu and arguments that he and Israel are committing war crimes in Palestine. This is such a tough, controversial topic. This has been going on since October 7th, 2023, when Israel was viciously attacked and they lost about 1,200 people they lost, and another 12 people are still captured. So this has been going on way too long. When you think about the facts, almost 40,000 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip, another 90,000 injured on that Gaza Strip. Now, this is so controversial, and no matter what side you're on, you're going to get heavily criticized, whether you're defending Israel's right to defend themselves or like defending humanity, right, and the humanitarian crisis that's happening. Some would argue that on the Gaza Strip that, Hamas, particularly as it relates to our community, will persecute our community, right? We're not accepted in the Gaza Strip. So some would argue that, right? Some would argue that Hamas is a terrorist group. Yeah. So no matter what side of the argument that you're on, you're going to get heavily criticized. At the end of the day, I think that I get the reference that, it's the oxymoron is what Bibi is mentioning in his speech, is that why are gays supporting this when they're not accepted by the Hamas government? I completely get that. I think that the much larger challenge here is the atrocities that have occurred,
yes,
right?
Of course.
The fact that we have lost almost 40,000 people killed, another 90,000 people injured. That's a humanitarian crisis. And I think that that's what the problem that a lot of people are having here. I hope that the Biden administration in all their negotiations are able to have a ceasefire in this particular case. But this is a very controversial topic. It's going to be all over the 2024 U.S. election. And I just hope that I hope it comes to a ceasefire so that we can focus on U.S. politics during this election. Because if it doesn't, this is going to come back to bite, our government.
Right. Well, and of course, as you may have noticed, Bibi did not mention ceasefire yesterday in his speech, which is sort of a strange thing. He can't seem to open his mouth, though, without putting his foot in it. And we can't forget that LGBTQ plus folks in Israel have been speaking out against Netanyahu and the country's far-right government long before this war began. So we are, LGBTQ folks are a presence there, and they don't approve of Netanyahu at all. But unsurprisingly, he just showed us an example of how much of a right-wing homophobe he is with that comment. And to be fair, there has been long been talk about outside agitators such as Iran. So we can't forget about that. There is more going on here than just the people of Gaza trying to defend themselves.
Right, Larry, when's enough is enough? Like, what's your thoughts on this situation and what's occurred in the Gaza Strip? But then think about the story and what I reported on the fact that a lot of protests was happening and a lot of burning of the American flag outside of the Capitol while he was speaking. So what are your thoughts on this situation?
I just think these are unprecedented times. And like you said, I really hope that there can be a ceasefire as we ready for the elections. I think the most important thing I personally look at is I hope we never forget what took place during the Holocaust. People say that genocides can't happen again, but if you look throughout history, not only the 6 million Jews and other people in our community and people with disabilities who were lost, but you look at other genocides throughout our history, whether it's the Native American Indian, or other cultures and countries. I think we just need to be mindful, and really look at humanity. And again, I think that the key is there, and we have to look at making sure that people vote with their hearts, but they look at that and they really take a close look at who they're voting for this year.
I love your point. This notion of humanity, right, and being humane. This has gone on since October 23rd.
Almost
it's going to be
Yes.
almost a year,
Yes.
and we've lost a lot of lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
When's enough is enough. I think enough is enough, and I hope that we see a ceasefire soon. And as you said, Greg, we haven't heard him say anything about ceasefire. No. So hopefully, today I know he's meeting with President Joe Biden and all of Joe Biden's administrators and cabinet secretaries, and so hopefully I hope they put the pressure on him to have a ceasefire pretty soon. We've lost a lot of lives, and we're not saying don't defend yourself, right? He has a right to defend Israel. But this has been going on too long, and so it's time. It's time to. It's too much destruction. It's too much destroying of lives. Too many deaths. One death is enough. One death is enough.
Absolutely.
And we've seen a lot.